With the threat of Orchis and Fei Long hanging over his head, how far will Tony Stark fall from grace? Well, let's hop into the pages of Invincible Iron Man issue number 9 and find out together, shall we? So then, picking up directly from where the last issue left off, a desperate Tony made a last-minute Hail Mary play to try and save the life of Emma Frost from all these brand new killer Stark Sentinels running around. Tony admits he's always been a great liar, but this was one hell of a whopper he was telling to Fei Long that he'd be willing to turn himself in so long as Emma Frost would no longer be hunted. Fei Long thought it over, and as much as he would love to kill his most hated foe right now, doing so would unfortunately cause a lot of problems for Orchis and the rest of the superhero community. Their hate group might be more powerful than ever, and getting the go-ahead from the American government to hunt mutants sure helped, but they're not strong enough yet to fight it out with the Avengers, not yet anyway. And so Fei Long decides to let Tony live, knowing full well that he broke him down enough to actually make him grovel and beg. Also, if Fei Long killed Tony now, he couldn't bleed him further as he plans to. Captain America shows up on the scene to try and comfort Tony, and it all has this wonderful air of, hey sport, you having one of the worst days of your life? You want some ice cream? You want to go to McDonald's? Oh, I'm real sorry that your friend is being framed for murder and you lost your company and your technology is being perverted into a weapon of genocide. You still showing up for Avengers practice on Wednesday? I joke about the Avengers, but this scene seems to exist for the sole purpose of Jerry Duggan explaining away a reason for how Tony Stark can be a hunted, wanted man by Fei Long, but also still keep up with his Avengers duties over in the Jed McKay book. In fact, this whole issue actually ends up being one giant prequel to everything that Jerry Duggan is writing over in the X-Men book. I have to wonder if he wrote this first and knew it would be released later, or if it's all just a happy accident. Either way, a defeated and dejected Tony tracks down his armor and where Emma Frost got sent off to for safekeeping. Turns out Emma ended up in the Morlock tunnels, a place well below a woman of her station, though this might perhaps explain why she convened her own X-Men buddies down here in a place where cell signals don't work. Now, Tony and Emma have never really had a ton in common, but they really have a lot to commiserate right now, as both their worlds are literally coming apart at the seams. It's through Tony that Emma even learns about the mutant massacre that seemingly took place on Krakoa, and Emma opens up to Tony about the fact that she can't hear her children anymore, meaning that they're dead or beyond her psychic power. Either way, none is a great outcome. Tony has a lot of his own crap to deal with right now, but he vows to return and help Emma out in any way he can. If her children really are dead, then at the very least he swears to help avenge them. Which is actually kind of funny, because if you read Jerry Duggan's Uncanny Avengers book, Captain America said basically the exact same thing to Psylocke. Nice to know for once the Avengers are all on the same page when it comes to helping out the oppressed mutants fight the powers that be. Now from there we transition on over to Jen Walters, She-Hulk, Tony's lawyer. She's checking in on Rhodey, who, surprise surprise, isn't exactly doing too great in this Texas prison. You might just be shocked to hear, but the neo-fascist, mutant-hating forces of Orchis have also aligned themselves with America's prison industrial complex. I know, right? This is my shocked face. Meaning that Fei Long is going to continue to have his people come at Rhodey from all sides until Tony is thoroughly broken. And one of the ways in which Fei Long continues to want to see Tony broken is to force him to turn over the Mark 70 suit, which Iron Man does in probably the most wonderfully petty way possible, literally throwing it through the window of Fei Long's office. That's fine, take my suit, I don't even want it anymore. I'm gonna build a new suit with blackjack and hookers, and also stop telling people you're my arch nemesis. I'm my own arch nemesis, me and maybe the booze. It's after that Tony actually returns to the Morlock tunnels to meet with Emma again. The White Queen is actually pretty shocked, assuming that she would never see someone as self-involved as Tony ever again. And honestly, Tony kind of surprised himself. He did have to get a couple snide digs in there saying that he foresaw something like this happening with the mutants of Krakoa and even tried to warn Emma at the last Hellfire Gala. He then ends up having a damn panic attack. Emma scans his mind and realizes that he's suffering from a terrible concussion from that last fight, and now it looks like his heart is going to beat out of his chest unless she does something about it, which indeed she does by calming his mind, taking him to his literal happy place inside his own brain. Emma assumed that Tony's happy place would be some sort of debaucherous Hollywood party filled with floozies, but it's actually an old hangar where Tony did some of his most original work. Also, fun fact, in Tony's own mind, he still has that big beautiful 80s porn stash. I know, right? Tony and Emma eventually come to an agreement that while they may struggle to see eye to eye occasionally, their chips are both down and they're going to need all the friends they can get. So it looks like until Orchis and Fei Long are wiped from the face of the earth, they're going to be on the same team together, and Tony's already paying into this new arrangement by giving Emma a brand new assumed identity. Well, actually what he does is end up dusting off an old identity identity, Kendall Haze, the assumed name that Emma used all the way back in issue 6 of this series when they retconned their first meeting. The next step is for Emma to get control of her finances again. She was sure to squirrel away as much money as she could before the fall of Krakoa, but unfortunately to get it, it means she has to go back to the Hellfire Club. A club that we learned Tony's own father Howard was actually a member of back in the day. In fact, Reddick, the old Butler, remembers him quite well. It's here too Tony ends up meeting a third and perhaps most unlikely ally in this battle against Orchis, the Hellfire Club's brand new White King, Wilson Fisk the Kingpin. You'll remember that Wilson's wife, Typhoid Mary, had actually disappeared at the Hellfire Gala and is assumed dead with the rest, meaning that the Kingpin is ready to go to all-out war if it means getting revenge. And so that was Invincible Iron Man issue number 9, everybody, and overall I thought it was pretty solid. I definitely liked the character work that we're getting with Tony. They're certainly building the relationship between Emma and him in a nice organic way, as they damn well should, because we already know that they're going to be getting married in a future issue. It was obviously always going to be a marriage of convenience, and I appreciate them actually going into the great detail to explain how Emma and Tony are basically both at their lowest points in their lives right now. Yet they're clinging to each other for some modicum of support. As far as the rest of the book, as I said before, this is actually a prequel to everything that's been going on in Avengers and the other X-Men books, meaning some of the biggest twists I actually kind of already knew about. Like Kendall Haze and Kingpin being the new White King, and even Tony needing to build a brand new suit so he can continue to hang out with the Avengers. I assume there is probably a fraction of people who are only reading this book because they like Iron Man, and don't actually know what's going on in the other X-Men titles, and for those people, those things probably came as bigger surprises than they actually were. But for me, though, I would give this one a 7.5 out of 10. And hopefully now that Duggan has fleshed out the backstory, we can continue to push on forward. Hey there everyone, it's your pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing my face right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, and I'll always be grateful for that. Retention helps in this crazy YouTube game, and so does becoming a patron. If you head on down to the description, you can find a link to my Patreon page. Recently just redid all the tiers, a lot of cool stuff offering up there, exclusive commentaries, exclusive polls, behind the scenes concept art for Capes and Quest. That's the brand new D&D show I've started soon. Never been a better time to become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month and help the channel grow, and help me continue to deliver content like what you just saw. So I want to thank you all, and I will see you again next time. Bye bye.